So you are here to leave your mark on the planet. There may be things that are getting in your way, holding you back, making you afraid. You may have some deep soul wounds that have you afraid to bring your voice forward. That's no joke. That's a big energy to work with. Let's work with that. Hi, I'm Chris Morris. This is Opening Spaces, and I want to talk to you today about integrative healing and why that's so important in this time of shift and deep change in our outer world. Integrative healing just means that we're working on multiple levels, and I work with a 4 pillars approach, which is body, and then thoughts and emotion, which actually go together, but we can talk about them as 2 pillars, and energy, which we could call soul or spirit or consciousness or just energy. And what's really important at this period in time is there are a lot of folks that are sensitive, that are empaths, that are creatives, that are here to actually help build a new world, but we're stuck in these ways that we're having traumas, we're having ways that we can't heal with deep personal wounds, we can't heal deep physical wounds, we're working with anxiety or depression or any kind of neurodivergence. And then also we have this energy piece that we may or may not have a full picture. I mean, most of us don't have a full picture. Actually, I would argue that none of us have a full picture of really what energy is, how it impacts us. But there are pieces of information out in the collective that are only part of the picture, that work with ancient teachings and ancient healings in ways of working with energy connected to physical human bodies that we've only got partial pieces of. So we're working with a very limited amount of information, and it's like we're trying to heal our plants, which is ourself. We're not a car. Like, so think of yourself as a tree or a plant, right? And we've got these big winds coming, and we got these big winds blowing, and we've got some water that we pour on, but it only goes to part of the plant. And then we have this soil that's there, but there's a big rock down in there, and the roots for some reason can't get around, right? And the sunlight is plenty, but it doesn't shine right on this plant in the way that really helps it flourish, right? So some of us are not in our right places and our right environments to get all of the nourishing that we need. And if you are a sensitive or an empath or a way shower, you need depth. It's part of how you're made. So working on healing the way that our current systems are working is just not enough. So our medical community, while it is amazing, and I would not want to go backwards, it's often just not enough because our systems want healing on deep and abiding levels. That's part of what we're here for. And so the working with the body, we may need to work with it on the chemistry level, on that cellular health level of what's happening down in the cells. Or we may need to work with it in the functional level, like how we're moving and what our structure is. So structure and function actually determine health as well. Or we may need to work on the somatic level. Somatic just means of the body, in the living body. The term comes from Thomas Hanna. He created it in the 1980s to talk about how we experience our body or how we don't experience our body, and how having more awareness of how we move and what parts of us we have access to and what's alive or what hasn't got amnesia, hasn't forgotten, right? So movement, which we could call function, and structure, they all go together in helping our health, but them in themselves are not enough. We need the cellular health working well too. And then our thoughts and emotions, which is the realm of psyche, we need that to actually work, to be excavated on a deep level. And in that realm, we're working with light and shadow. We're working with these parts of us that have or haven't been integrated, or these parts of us that are or are not even us, right? So that psyche level is really important to work on. But when we're working with our psyche, it's not just our brain, it's this whole being. And so sometimes the talk therapy is really good with this top down, working with our rational brain, what we know, we know. But also there's this working from the bottom up place, which is our neurobiological approach, which is our nervous system, and then our emotional brain, our limbic system. We need all of these integrated up and down the channels. And often, and what has happened in our recent times is that we've really accentuated the importance of our rational thinking brain and controlling our thoughts and being in charge of what we thought and think and being in charge of manifestation and all of the things which can have a really potent impact on our lives. But sometimes there's missing pieces, and those missing pieces are these deep places in our primal biology, in our nervous system, in our history, in our generational history, right? That we have to work with these places on a deeper level. When we work on a deeper level, we get access to a more expanded, which some people call higher vibration, and I often call expanded vibration or expanded experience of ourselves. So the deeper we go, the wider we experience who we are. So think of your being as more circular and not this hierarchical way of working towards ascension or something like that. Think of it as wider consciousness or wider access to your multidimensional reality. Okay. Which brings us right into the energy realm, which some people call spirit, some people just call energy, some people call soul, or just consciousness, right? And people often talk about it as higher consciousness, and we tend to think of it as straight up, right? That's just part of our human brain. Think of it as wide. And as we get wider, we get access to deeper parts of us. And in our healing journey, as we're here on the planet, we are actually here to transform. Every single person on the planet is here to transform, to grow, to transmute some things that we haven't done before, and to create, to leave our mark on the planet. To quote Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, we're here to leave our mark, and it's our creative mark on the planet. And this is part of our soul's journey. Now, we'll talk about soul further down the line. We'll talk about spirit down the line. We'll talk about consciousness down the line. We'll talk about spiritual awakening down the line. We'll talk about all these pieces. But right now, what I want you to realize, if you haven't been able to heal your trauma, your physical pain, your anxiety, your depression, it's not your fault. And that's one of the pieces that I personally think we're missing in our consciousness world, our new age world, our spiritual journey world, is this place that we are responsible for everything that comes into our world. That's not true. And some of the things that we've experienced, we actually shouldn't have experienced them. Now, that may be a controversial statement, but I really want you to just have in your mind that, like, okay, whatever this is that I'm working with, right? I can actually take responsibility for it. The pieces that aren't mine, I let go of, and the pieces that are mine, I find out about them. I create awareness around them, and I get help to heal them on that deep and abiding level. Because no matter what wounds we have, there's an energy that comes with them. And as we release that energy, we don't forget the memory, but we get the learning from it. And we don't hold on to all of the things that it's put on us and had us believe that we were one way, when we really are much bigger than we know, much more beautiful than we know, much more whole than we know, and much more creative and resilient than we know. And we may have to get those pieces activated within us and bring them out into the world. So you are here to leave your mark on the planet. There may be things that are getting in your way, holding you back, making you afraid. You may have some deep soul wounds that have you afraid to bring your voice forward. That's no joke. That's a big energy to work with. Let's work with that over time, over this next year, over this next couple years. Let's work with these places, this next 6 months. Let's work with these places that actually have us stuck in old ways of being, because there are always places within us that are trying to talk to us, that are trying to emerge into bringing us the gifts that we are and bringing the gifts out into the world. You're here for a reason, and that reason is to leave your mark in any way the deepest desire, the deepest, most connected desires within you want to come forth. And I look forward to seeing you do that. All right. I am Chris Morris. This is Opening Spaces for a healing journey to your own unique way of expressing your wholeness. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you next time.